like understanding your actual market. It is very important to understand your competitive price. That's consistently an issue that Riley and I both see. Is we're on a call with somebody and they're like, "Hey, this is my supplement. It costs everyone else here is they're charging $60 or $40, so mine's going to be 55." We're like, actually, those are not actually your real competition. Sponsored by Monster.
All right, this will be a conversation about supplement strategy on Amazon. So we work with many supplements brands, and this document is something that we send them.
It's also consistently changing, so it's a constantly evolving document.
We'll probably be putting together like a whole freaking ebook on every step of this, but this is just our initial thing. I wanted to get this out. So some general pro tips: product research to find the right product, and also a right timeline for launch. Needs to be doing seasonal pickup in search volume for that product. So Ryan, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so that a perfect example of that, really easy, is going to be like flu season, right? Or kids going back to school, immune support. Immune support doesn't, it has a decrease in search volume and popularity really during summer months.
So plan it and launch it at the right time strategically. There can be strategy with that. Product research. Product needs to have USP and competitive price. I think this is general with any product. The more
Yep.
differentiated it's going to be, unique selling position, it's going to do better. And on Amazon, for the most part, you got to be prepared to be price competitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is the most common thing that we see with people is, and to the same point, it's like understanding your actual market. It is very important to understand your competitive price. That's consistently an issue that Riley and I both see. Is we're on a call with somebody and they're like, "Hey, this is my supplement. It costs everyone else here is they're charging $60 or $40, so mine's going to be 55." We're like, actually, those are not actually your real competition, and we actually have to show them with search volume how there are certain brands, and how Amazon is. There's generic search terms and there's branded search terms, and how certain brands have different things, and we can actually narrow down the funnel and say, actually, that's not really your, like, it, you can compete with them, but it takes a lot longer than the generic Amazon search terms and so on. So understanding competitive price to what you actually are relevant for, not just the average price of every product that shows up. And so narrowing that down to understanding who your real competition on Amazon is for that competitive price is very important.
Yep. Research should also include weight, size of product, and also cost per capsule or cost per ounce comparisons, as we have seen this to be effective for launch. What do you
Yep.
mean by that?
I'll actually just pull it up. We'll, since I already said immune support, we'll
Yeah,
use that as an
basically
example.
be paying attention to the cost per ounce or per serving or per capsule. It's a very important thing that shoppers consider.
Yeah, on the search page, as an example, you're going to see certain things where it says like capsule size or pack size, etc. And so knowing that, like, if a product is priced a little bit more, sometimes the algorithm actually, it's kind of in general when you're actually shopping in retail, like in stores, and it actually shows you kind of the cost per ounce or the cost per unit and everything that's actually right there on the um, on the on the reference point on the shelf. And so you can kind of see what's a bargain. Amazon's algorithm actually does sometimes favor those as well. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, pay attention to that. Design needs to be more for Amazon audiences, a mix of attractiveness, but with an emphasis in terms of search term resonance, 80% emphasis on search term resonance, and 20% branding and design.
Yeah. Um, what this means is, I wish I could share my screen, but the most people, when they focus on the design aspect and they create a great supplement and, hey, it looks good, but the product design of the product label is the whole entire product label is taken up by the logo. You have to realize that for an Amazon audience, everything is search related. So they type in a search to elicit a certain type of narrowed down product. And at first, if you are not a well-known brand to begin with, they actually don't care who your brand is. They don't resonate with a picture of a pill with arms and a smiley face, like how, it doesn't answer any questions for them. So having the label more resonate with the type of search term that is hyper relevant to you, that's the search term audience. Amazon is very search term audience related, and then has demographics piled on top of that. And so yes, you should have a good branding design, right? But if your logo was this big, I want it to be this big.
Yeah.
And I want the search term to be bigger.
So have the keyword on there, like, whatever it is, mushroom, chaga, coffee.
Yeah.
On the packaging, on the bottle, that should be the big bold thing, not the logo. This is actually packaging 101.
Yeah.
And then also we're recommending that you have 3D renderings so you can alter the bottle image and test different bottle images on the main image.
Yep.
That's a whole thing that actually already filmed a video on, and that should be posting soon. It has a flavor. It needs to taste good. If it does not taste good, it will die on Amazon.
Yeah, that is the most important rule that you could possibly have. We had a client who swore up and down that they had an amazing flavor product, went through all the versions of it. And we're like, hey, can you send it to us? Because we wanted to see. And they said, hey, no, it's still in production. We won't send it to you, but we're good. We're good. We went through all the design and everything. We can do everything but fix an audience's response. And they finally sent me one after it had been on Amazon. It got launched, and we started getting these negative reviews. And it arrived in the mail. My wife is pregnant, right? Well, was pregnant, Riley. And I opened it, and she was standing next to me, and she goes, "What the heck is that?"
Oh yeah, this one.
And then she starts going like this. She's like, "Get that out of my house!" And I never even got to try it, but everyone's response was that exact same way. So what ended up
foul-smelling vitamins, yeah.
Horrible, and it was meant to be a flavor. And that was really harsh, right? Like that could have been something that actually was fixed in production, but it wasn't actually tested. There were some fairly biased perspectives on that, and we can't fix broken, right? Like that is, unfortunately, that can happen. So flavor is very important. If it is meant to have a flavor, the flavor has to be good.
Yeah. Include something about how do I know it's working. If you can include something in the ingredients that can help with immediate result, even if it's placebo, then it's a great salesmanship.
Yeah. So this is more like a product of, this is all in product development, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to share anything that's outside of, I guess NDAs that we have or whatever with clients, but there are certain ways that you can actually show and say, hey, like this thing does work. Like within the first 1 to 3 days, you should experience this, that type of stuff. And even if it's, I'm just going to stick to that script so that I don't say anything I'm not supposed to. But yeah, like if you can do that, the product actually can have an out the gate experience that they're like, oh, and they can reference that from the listing and from other things. It's like, when I take this, I can expect this result. So as soon as they start seeing that result or feeling that thing, they believe that the supplement is resonating with their desires and what they're trying to achieve, right? A really easy one is like nasal spray, as an example. It's like, when you have this, the first time you feel it, you should have what? Clear sinuses. Boom. Like that should be their first experience. As soon as they have it, they can connect the dots and say, I used this nasal spray and had better sinus reaction. And that's not even a placebo. That's a real effect. If your product is not doing that, then maybe it is a long-term effect. You're like, hey, over the next 7 days, you should experience this type of stuff, and paste that out in your sales copy. So.
All right. So getting into marketing stuff, strategy. So first 1 to 2 years, We know that we eventually want to be a competitor in top of search results. That's where the big money is made. However, there are a few hindrances that will keep us from staying up there, even if we get good results. So I would say, just as a general mindset, if you're launching on Amazon, first 1 to 2 years is you're building up rank and reviews. You're not optimizing for profitability there. Just like many companies out the gate, you want to focus on market share, get as many customers as possible. Same with Amazon. You want to build up that real estate, catch up to competitors in terms of reviews, have it at a discounted price, and build that reviews, build that ranking, build that page one real estate. Try to get as high as you can on page one search results for your relevant keywords. That's where the mega money is made. So that's kind of the best Amazon strategy mindset. So when you're going into that,
Yeah. If I can add something here, another thing to go in with anything in the supplement space and some of the other spaces right now as well, like Amazon is fairly congested as far as competition and everything there. And a big reason for that is the competition is high because the cost of play can be high. And so what that means is that there's a lot of players in the space who they have to their own, like if you as a supplement company right now are having blood, sweat, and tears, and you eventually break through that and you start having success, how fast are you going to be like, cool, I'm just going to sit here on my, rest on my laurels, so to speak? You're not going to, because you went through blood, sweat, and tears in order to get it. Many supplement companies that are thriving on Amazon also had to go through those same blood, sweat, and tears. And so there's the reason why cost per click sometimes in these niches are like $6.50 minimum for the top of search, because they also had to go through the same thing, and they're going to keep that space. They want it. And it's like, it's kind of one of those, like, if I have to pay $6.50 for a cost per click and somebody who just started, they only get $2 cost per click, I'm not going to let them do that. There's no way. There's no way that I would let somebody do that. And so it has to do with like the level of competition and the level of keeping that space and what that looks like. So you do have competition from people who do exist and who are also trying to take that space. So anyways, that's just a little.
Yeah, fierce competition, and expect cost per clicks to be very high.
Very high
at the beginning. Yeah, it's a pay to play. You got to buy that real estate. You got to buy that physical real estate. It's going to be an investment, but obviously that's why the sellers on the top of page one want to keep that, because the traffic potential is insane. Like doing $1 million a month with many supplements.
Yep.
Okay, review count. Think of this as a reference to customer experience and social proof. First 1 to 2 years is about building up reviews.
Yep. Reviews they're the hardest thing to control. We even have review strategies that we implement, and it just, even with those implementations, you can't out track sales. So if you're only selling 100 units a month on a product and you want to get to 100 reviews really quick, you have to realize that there's a certain ratio that is acceptable within Amazon, that you can't beat that. Like, you can't bypass that without sometimes having kind of an internal audit done by Amazon system. They will check you, and you have to be careful. So with that, it's like pacing yourself for the first 1 to 2 years. The sales also equaling that. Also something that's big for Riley and I. We believe there's like, you need to listen to the reviews from your customers. It will actually help you either give additional change your formulation in a better way, so it resonates better, so it tastes better if that's an option, so it looks better, etc. And so if you are incentivizing, if you have any incentive, like review incentivizations that you do, they should not ever skew the reality of the performance of the product. They should, like, it's okay if it boosts up your review count total, but it shouldn't slant your negative reviews so that people are buying a product that is bad. It is up to you to fix the product. Like, you are responsible for fixing that product, so that it is actually good for the audience. Does that make sense? Did
Yeah,
I
you
say that
mean
right,
like
Riley?
there's no way to like get a bunch of people to say good things about the product. At the end of the day, if people are
Yeah.
going to naturally leave negative reviews, they're going to naturally leave negative reviews. It's not going to fix it long term because the
Yeah.
truth comes out eventually. Yeah.
It's a band-aid that you will bleed through the band-aid. It's if you don't actually change the formulation, you're going to be constantly bleeding money into these review strategies, and it's not a long-term fix ever. So for the long-term resolution, like you need to fix the formulation, and then when it is good, yeah, in theory, I have no qualms with increasing the amount of total reviews and doing strategies and things that you're doing in order to increase the total amount of reviews to be relevant to your niche. But changing like incentivizing reviews to change somebody from basically a 3.5 star rating up to a 4.5 when you haven't changed anything about the product, that could be bad.
Yeah. I just made a new video about reviews that should be posting soon as well. All right. Subscribe and save. Good old subscribe and save. Awesome thing about Amazon. We love it. So subscribe and save not being unlocked and knowing that Amazon will not release the 12-month history of lifetime value of customer for 12 months after it's unlocked.
Yep.
Subscribe and save is something that automatically gets unlocked usually after a couple months after you have sufficient data. Obviously, big picture strategy here is you want to try to build up your subscribe and save customers. It's a big part of the marketing strategies that Ryan and his team do. So what do you mean by this about? So you don't get that data, the LTV data, until after 12 months?
Yeah. So
or the repurchase rate data?
Yeah. Amazon keeps track of it, but only over a 12-month segmented period. And so it's basically like the rotating 12 months. So here's some examples right here that Riley screenshotted for you guys. And so you'll see over on the left-hand side, the window on the left, Riley. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, this one.
So yeah, so over the period, like year-over-year data is what it tracks. Okay. And so with that, the rotating 12 months. So if you are a brand new supplement on Amazon and you don't have subscribe and save, you will get it unlocked within 1 to 2 months ish. Okay. And then you have 12 months of continuous subscriptions, which is kind of what you're seeing here. And then the first time that lifetime value of customer, which is over on the right hand side where Riley will show you that it becomes available, is basically month 13 of subscribe and save being enabled. That could be up to 15 months from your launch. Okay. And it shows you the trailing 12 months. So that's what I mean, like trailing 12 months. It like goes year over year data. And so as you see your year over year data get better or increase, these averages will always change. This client has a couple supplements that are fairly inexpensive. And so this is like, you'll see a non-subscriber purchases, that's probably about two purchases on average. And it's for all the supplements that you have in your catalog. So this ratio here is not for a specific ASIN, it's for basically your account in general. And it says here that a subscribe and save option is actually 2 times above what your non-subscribers are. So over the trailing 12 months, this client had 2 purchases for anyone who didn't subscribe, but for subscribers, it was actually 4 purchases. And fairly common within this niche is actually for non-subscribers to actually do about 2 to 4 times a year for a product, and then for subscribers to actually do about 4 to 6, sometimes 4 to 8, depending on that ratio. In fact, if you go down, we attached another screenshot of a client who's been around for a long time, and this is their trailing 12 months. So they've been around for multiple years, and their average per subscriber is $174. Their average for non-subscriber is 110. So, and they do have a little bit higher priced products as well. They've really honed into a niche, but it actually hits those same ratios. Like about a 1.5 is fairly average, where you make 1.5 times on a subscriber what you do for a non-subscriber. So the first things that we have to do on Amazon is, of course, get the first initial sale. And then it comes down to how do you get the second sale and a third sale, and so on and so on. Now, the only way to do that is if your product actually like really works for the customer, right? And that's about dialing that in, but also making the offering acceptable enough that they actually repurchase and everything there. So did I answer that well enough, or do we need to hit on something else over there?
No, yeah, that's good. That was a thorough breakdown, but yeah, so you won't. Amazon needs 12 months of data to actually see this. So your point here is you're not going to know this for the first 12 months. So it's like, how much
Yeah,
of a subscribe and save discount should I offer? I think in general, what I say in my videos is make it as big of a discount as you can. Like you obviously want to get as many subscribers as you can, especially during year one launch. You just want to get as many customers as you can. And having a big aggressive subscribe and save discount, like standard is like 10%, but you can do 15, 20, 25, 30. If you really want to push for launch and rank, we've done up to 40 for a couple of our clients, right? That will really push your rank because customers are like, oh, this is a screaming deal. It will. So it's not only you get customers, obviously not everyone's going to stay on subscribe and save, but it's just a general, it's just like a coupon. It's just like having it on sale. You're going to really push rank and build your reviews, that's what you want to focus on for year one. Yeah, it loves to do.
Dude, that was so funny. Like, you did that, and it did like that thumbs up thing. I was like, man,
yeah, it
doesn't
sees you, and then it does little emojis.
Anyways, yeah. So to that same thing is like you can going up to a 10% discount is awesome. Subscribe and save discount. And then of course, yeah, like the actual subscribe and save coupon. That's what Riley's referring to. Attaching that in addition to your subscribe and save discount. So that because the client or the customer can double dip. That is one thing that we've had some people that we've talked to who didn't understand that. They're like, well, they either choose the subscribe and save coupon or the subscribe and save discount. And I'm like, no, they choose them both. They get them both on the first purchase. And so the first purchase is where that coupon is attached. And so when they take the coupon and the subscribe and save discount, they get a significant, discount on the first purchase. But then the second purchase, they just get the subscribe and save. So,
yeah. I have this whole other document here, these 20 growth hacks for selling supplements. This is a whole nother thing, but I put this in here. Ryan, I don't know if I showed you this, but here's just a little quick tip for subscribe and save. You can put a big banner there in your A+ that reminds people about subscribe and save.
Yeah,
that's just a little tip, but yeah, lots of tips in here, but this could be for a separate video. But yeah, if you really want to push for rank, you can do a 50% subscribe and save discount, for example. If you're just in a apple cider vinegars, gummies, just a hugely competitive space, and you're just like, all right, how do I just blast rank? All right, give it away basically at cost, at break even, or maybe even a little bit in the red. That's what it's going to take. So you got to be aggressive, super aggressive with the discounts. And here's kind of an example of a schedule over 3 months of launch to kind of taper that off and monitor and adjust.
Yeah. Anyways, I know this is kind of off topic, and it should actually go in your in the
this document, the growth hacks.
Yeah, well, it would actually be up here in like the pro tips, the general pro tips. It's actually more than pro tip. Consider maybe editing this out because it is or making this its own thing. In the supplement space, one of the rules that I see from initial graphic design that actually really irritates me, and I think it probably irritates you, Riley, as well. I call it the rule of 3. In graphic design, especially in the gallery images and the A+ content, visual space matters so much. And what we constantly see in the supplement space is someone who's new, they hire somebody, and how do I say this? A back scratcher. If you have a back scratcher and something is feature and function related, we're going to highlight, like in our graphics, right, Riley? We're going to highlight the bristles or the scratcher thing or the joint if there's a joint, or the handle, and like we're actually going to zoom in on different things, or like how it helps, right? Like all these different features. If we're going to do that, we're going to highlight those things. In a supplement, people will try and kind of sell the product the same way, but the thing about supplements is it's usually about eliciting some sort of a response, right? And so what often happens in gallery images, and people will see this all the time, that there's the main image, and then you're going to see image number 2, and it's going to have the same bottle in it. Image number 3 also has the bottle in it. Image number 4 has the bottle in it. And image number 5, number 6, the bottle is taking up sometimes 25 to 30 to 50% of the whole image as a whole. And it's like you are losing real, like visual real estate to tell a story. And so one of the ways that I've started actually telling this to people, and I thought I've told you about this, right, but maybe I haven't. I call it the rule of 3. In the gallery images, you should never see your bottle more than 3 times. The main image counts as 1. The supplement facts counts as 2. Because the supplement facts is attached to the bottle. You are showing the bottle already a second time in there, and then maybe one other time in some sort of like maybe a lifestyle or something else. But then it gives you opportunity to utilize lifestyle images or some other graphics in order to sell the product more, and not have the bottle itself be it, because people are not buying the bottle. That's where it always irritates me. They're not buying the freaking, like they're buying the bottle, but it's what's in the bottle that actually matters to them.
Yeah.
And it is in my opinion, almost a sin that I see consistently done in the supplement space, because most people, they don't know how to tell the story. So
yeah. I could go all day about crappy graphic design, branding, and copywriting, as we were talking about last night.
Yep.
Okay, so subscribe and save. I think we got the point across. There's lots of strategy for that. And that could be a whole nother video that we'll probably do. Inventory caps on new launch products and brands with no sell-through rate. This gets unlocked as your account shows good inventory management.
Yeah, so Amazon is being a little more lenient now in 2024 than they have been in previous years. So we may see this, Riley, where this, for supplements, this may completely go away, because supplements don't take up a ton of space now, or now, they never have. They don't take up a ton of space, and so some of our clients are actually coming in, and I don't know if they're testing this out right now or what, but they actually have unlimited inventory caps. They can send in almost anything. But the downfall is, if it doesn't sell, Amazon will hit you with a ton of fees, right? So if you send your whole order in at once, you're in trouble. But so we do recommend still, even regardless, kind of setting up by degrees how many supplements you send in at a single time. So that recommendation still does
isn't standard. Like you could send in like 5,000 units probably most of the time, like no problem. If you're new account.
If you're a new account, I don't know if we've recommended that. I think the most I've recommended in the last year has actually been about 500 at a given time.
I mean, in terms of the limit that it shows.
So
that's allow you to send up.
That's what I mean right now, right? Like for some clients right now, it's actually showing no cap.
Yeah. So yeah, no cap, pretty much.
Yeah, no cap. So I haven't pushed that limit. So, but technically,
typically sending in 500 to 1,000 at start, you mean is like fine for the first few months? That's enough.
Yeah. So usually when I recommend with clients right now, we do like 200 to 300 is kind of initial months, because we have to realize, like, we're doing giveaways, we're doing a few other things. We're just kind of trying to, I don't know, get the pump ready.
So why wouldn't you just send it, if you have more? Why wouldn't you just send in more? Like, we got 5,000 in our factory, let's just send them in.
Yeah. So keeping an account health rating is actually very beneficial, and so sell-through data does help you. We did try this with one account. We actually got subscribe and save unlocked early by doing a second replenishment, or I guess a replenishment. They sold out of their 300 units, and before they were fully out, we sent in that second replenishment within 4 weeks and actually unlocked the account early. I don't know yet if that's a consistent trigger or not, but it was a reaction I believe, a reaction to that. So yeah, I'm not opposed. If somebody wants to send in 5,000 units, that's great. Usually it's by degrees anyways. And for a lot of clients that are in launch, they're not just launching one product, they're actually launching 5 or 6 kind of at
Yeah.
once.
So that would be per product. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it depends on your marketing strategy. It's like, how aggressive do you want to go? Or do we want to give away 10 a day? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Factor all that in. Your budget, your cash flow situation, all those things.
Right.
But okay, cool. Yeah. So inventory, obviously, huge thing to pay attention to. Pure volume for the products in the first 10 organic placements. Even if you get some good market share out the gate, Amazon sees it as mere drops in the ocean of bigger brands. It takes time to show Amazon that you have an audience here and that you can actually compete.
Yep. We launched a client that it was awesome. Without even having any reviews, they were selling units, and we're talking. They went from selling nothing. The product wasn't even launched. Very successful. Like, this is above the average of what we usually experience. They went on this supplement selling. It was like 10 a day, 20, 30, 40, and they were up to like 50 a day within the first week. And they didn't have any reviews come in for almost a month. And so they were experiencing this crazy growth every single day, and they climbed the ranking. And then this weird thing happened. Reviews started coming in, and they were actually good. But they had 1 and 2. And as soon as they started getting reviews, it's like their ranking dropped. Their total sales completely dropped. It was really bizarre to us. And so anyways, the idea is that overall, sometimes the audience's response, but sometimes Amazon's response as well. So if there are established brands that consistently have good conversion rate, they consistently deliver, then all these other things, that client, we had such a substantial growth kind of right out the gate. And they didn't have the bandwidth right away to replenish inventory right away. They only started, their max at launch was 500 units. We sold through that in the first month. And so anyways, that's kind of an example of people who they just, how do I say this? The best option. This is a great example, kind of what you're showing here. All these products here are established. They have lots of reviews. They've been here for a long time. They have the review count. They have everything to back them up. If one of them runs out of stock, it is possible to take their placement. When they get back in stock, as long as they haven't, caused issues with Amazon's, I guess, replenishment, so to speak, you may not keep the volume play that you've actually had. These guys will usually be able to get it back.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, all right, if you're ranked really high for a period, you could be kicked out of there fast. It's something that's normal that happens.
Yeah.
Could be a variety of reasons.
Yep. For a variety of reasons, it's competitive.
Yeah. In terms of main image hack, I should put this in my main image guide. These guys did the Canva hack.
The sticker.
The crude Canva sticker, just showing the count and the key information in just a big photoshopped sticker, which is, makes sense. It can work. It looks ugly, but yeah.
Good for them.
All right. Moving on to.
Actually, can you go back to that? This will go back to actually reiterating one of the points that we already made about the 80-20 principle idea. Vitamin B12, that brand that has the 60 count, 30 count, and like the pink, that's a perfect example. We don't even know what brand that is yet. Does anybody know? Does anyone know who Nevis is? Nobody.
Right. It's vitamin B12 in huge text. Yeah.
Yep. With methylcobalamin. Right.
You know what I would do though is, so in my main image video, I'm excited for that to drop. What's the unique thing about this product? I looked at it for a few seconds and I said, oh, what's the unique thing? It's maximum strength. It's 10,000 milligrams. It's 10 grams. So this is something that I would actually buy. I actually have B12. I'm a big B12 fan. So what I would put on the packaging is maximum strength B12 in this huge font.
Yeah.
Maximum strength 10,000 milligrams. That's what a packaging expert would do. So it's not just what it's like. B12 actually doesn't even matter to put that on there because of course it's B12. I just searched B12. What's your USP? Your USP is 10,000 maximum strength. So I would put 10,000. I would put 10,000 in huge, and then vitamin, and then B12, and then up below maximum strength. If I was their graphic designer, but this is getting into creative stuff, which is a whole nother thing. Creative stuff goes infinitely into other topics we could talk about. All right, cost testing. Out of the top placement advertisements and getting volume of sales here, aka advertising funds at an obvious short-term loss without knowing the repurchase rate. The cost of testing out top of placement advertisements. Okay, which is going to be at an obvious investment.
Yep. A big thing that we need to test out, and this is the main reason for ads, in my opinion, especially during launch, is to get data traction. Now, data is expensive, especially in the supplement space. The top of search placement, $6.50 minimum, usually. Well, $6.50. Okay. So what that means is that if you want 10 clicks, you're going to spend $65.
$60.
Yeah.
It's like 10 clicks and then get one.
But you actually need 100, and then you need 1,000. Like you need a lot of clicks in order to get certain things. And so, especially because we're testing out multiple things, how's the main image? Do we have a click-through rate at the top of search that resonates, or that's close enough of a metric, of a key indicator that, hey, this is going to do well at the top of search if we want to be the top of search people? So there are some brands that are like, hey, I don't want to be in the top 10 organically. Okay, then luckily now Amazon has the rest of search. And so we can actually optimize for rest of search rather than top of search. And so we can decide kind of where we want to be for every single product, but then justify the click-through rate associated with those placements that we want to be at. And so that's just data. That's data scraping, so to speak, during launch. Oftentimes, if you only have 10 reviews, you're not going to stay there. It's pretty hard to stay there. And so we have to realize, like, why are we spending there? We're spending to get data. We're spending to get a purchase that will lead to a second purchase, and they all stair step up into success. But sometimes people look at their ads and they go, I'm spending too much money and it's not going anywhere. And it's like, that's actually not true. We are going somewhere, but it's slow and steady, because if we only have, a $1,500 budget or a $3,000 budget a month, we are limited by how much data we can actually get in that month.
Yeah. So it's like the sooner you have the data, the sooner you can make the adjustments and double down on what's working and cut out what's not working. And the bigger the budget, the faster the data, the faster you're going to get the sales, and the faster the rank is going to spike, because that's how the algorithm works, based on daily sales. But if you spend a lot, let's say the first month, $200 a day, whatever, and their conversion rate is just shit, then okay, we're going to know, all right, we need to fix something with something, price, reviews, or whatever. But it's almost like, all right, in order to get enough data to make the next adjustment, I'm going to need to spend, let's say, 10,000 total. It's like, all right, you could spend that in the month one, or you could trickle that over 3 months. You're spending the same amount to make the same adjustment.
Yeah. To that same point, we recently, in the last year, actually had a client who they were doing just a pure giveaway strategy for their products. They had awesome conversion rates and they had awesome click-through rates, but they weren't making any money. They weren't getting the second and third sale. So when they came to us, they're like, we don't know how to make money. And when I found out they were doing their own giveaway strategies, that is actually, I don't agree with this as a strategy at the way they did it. I understand using giveaways, and we recommend giveaways to a certain point to kind of increase ranking, but their listing wasn't dialed in, and they were sending giveaways to a listing that didn't convert well. So which means it was boosting up organically and nobody was purchasing it organically. So then what we had to do is actually wait for all their giveaways to bleed out. And then we had to do, okay, like we were starting from ground zero because they technically had sales, but no data. And so then I said, guess what? Now I need you to provide me ad spend in order to get click-through rate in these different placements and to get me conversion rate in these keywords. And they were like, we've already spent money on giveaways. And I said, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have, none of your data is accurate. It's all skewed. And so we actually had to do a relaunch just to get correct data of this is what your current data is without any,
any
change.
external traffic, conversion rate manipulation. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we went and we said, okay, now let's change main image. Okay, we got your main image dialed in. Now let's go into the listing. Now let's do this. And we just started slowly changing things, and we see their click-through rate change. We see their conversion rate change, and it's a consistent gain. Some people who start on Amazon, they have a killer listing when they first start. They start right. If you have a good enough listing to actually get those things, then it's fantastic. So anyways, but it's kind of that same thing. Like, what is the cost of testing? Yeah, there is cost associated with it.
It's part of your startup company. It's like it's any company. It's during launch phase. I mean, most traditional startups, you're not looking at profit for multiple years down the road. Is built into the most of startups' business plan. The cool thing about Amazon is you can make profit like in the first year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen all the time, or first year or two. You can. I mean, that's the whole allure of like e-commerce and Amazon, because you can go direct to market. You don't need to have all this complicated advertising campaigns all around these different places. It's just an easy go-to-market thing, but it's still a huge virtual mall where you still need to buy eyeballs. And
yeah. Virtual, that's well said. It is a virtual mall.
Yeah,
that's a good visual.
Yeah, virtual mall. I should make some ChatGPT visuals with that. I've been having fun with that. Potential shifts in the market. Supplements space is very trendy and can be changed almost overnight, and can, by the right influencer and celebrity trends with new secrets on Amazon, sometimes an entire category can be changed by simply introduction of a 60 count when everything else is 30 count. Okay.
Yeah. So those are actually two different examples. So yeah there you go. New secrets. This happens all the time. It's very similar to like clothing trends. My oldest sister, she's in her like 40s or whatever, and she's like, hey, my kids are wearing the same clothes I wore, that type of stuff, right? There are certain trends, like style trends, that actually come back into play. Diet trends come back into play. Different trends. It's like they go a certain way and then they kind of circle back sometimes. And it actually happens in the supplement space all the time. Something, it becomes unpopular. It was popular for a while. It eventually kind of goes away. We actually see the same thing for advertising. I don't know if you paid attention to this, Riley, as well. It's like people went away from Facebook for a long time, and now people are starting to go back to Facebook and Instagram. It's like they're like, oh, this platform doesn't work anymore for advertising. Go to this one, and then they go to like those type of trends. They happen all the time. And then something like this. So that's an example of cycling trends. But then you have trends that actually change the market. Okay. And so a change in the market could be everyone is selling a 30 count, and then somebody introduces a 60 count, and they start getting all the traffic. Everyone is going to start shifting over to a 60 count. So this goes back to one of the reference points that we made earlier of, if everyone is selling a 90 count and you come in, you're like, I'm going to sell a 30. What are you doing? It's like you have to be very clear about a lot of things for your product. It's better than everybody else's. It's only one serving, versus their 3 servings, or 3 to a serving versus 1 to a serving type thing. You can make those references, but you have to get them to your listing first to make that connection. And sometimes it doesn't even happen based on the search page. And so that's what we mean here is, if everyone has 180 count on the first page and you come in and saying, hey, I've got a 30 count and I'm going to sell it for the same price. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
Not at the same price, maybe a lower price, but even at the lower
yeah.
price, people are realizing that it's
Yeah.
pointless to get a 30 count because with this thing, you need to take more per day.
Yeah.
So pay close attention to this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because an audience starts to provide themselves a threshold of information. They type in B12, and on the first page, they start giving themselves expectations for that niche based on what they're seeing. If everyone on the first page is 90 count, 90 count, 90 count, they start assuming that 90 count is normal. And if there's something above a 90 count, they're like, oh, well, maybe that's something that we need to look into. Or if like someone who's a 30 count, like you'll usually imagine them doing like a furrow of their brow. Like, why is that one 30? Right. Anyways, just there's a certain expectation from the search results of this mall of Amazon that they start saying, this is what I should be looking for.
Yeah.
Anyways, certain biases from that.
Yeah. And another quick tip around that. Let's say you did launch a 30 count and then you come to us and they're like, shit, we have this 30 count. We have it now.
It's not selling.
Here's what you should do. In the gallery image and A+ content, have a little infographic thing that says, wondering between 30 and 90 count, here's why you need a 30 count. Boom. And not a 90 count. Here's why taking too much is harmful or whatever. Address that FAQ, know the FAQs in the customer's mind and make that clear and try to sell them on getting a 30 count.
Yep.
We're here to sell
the
stuff.
Inventory. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, addressing those things. Okay, things to consider. Here are the strategies to either overcome or embrace these challenges, since obviously some of these things are not able to be broken through, but absorbed as part of the experience to scale. Yep. What type of brand do you want to be? What type of price do you want to be? Do you have a way of differentiating price, count, size? Talked a lot about that. Cost of goods sold. You need to recognize that your COGS will get bigger and bigger with bigger orders. Don't lose sight of what your at scale COGS will be. Better and better with bigger and bigger orders. Yeah. So don't lose sight of what it will be when you're just starting. You can eventually get to volume and have a recoup loss when your cost of goods gets improved with larger bulk orders.
Yep. So this happens fairly consistently for smaller brands that start. There's bigger brands when they come and they say, hey, how do I say this? Not even bigger brands. They're still newly launched, but they come to us and they say, we have a ton of funding. What do we do? And the first thing out of our mouths is you have to ignore kind of first purchase cost of goods, because we're going for a 2-year play anyways. And so if you want to compete on the first page, we tell them everything they have to compete on the first page. And always they say, I can't get that price off of my current cost of goods. I say, okay. So the things to consider, like these same things are things you have to consider. Like, okay, if that's the case, if you want to be first page, this is what it looks like as it stands on Amazon. So either you have to have a way better USP, you have to resonate with the audience more, you have to get these kind of things going for you, or you have to say, okay, I have to absorb one of these things. And one of those things you have to absorb might be, I don't actually even get a profitable cost of goods until I am in my second year. After I'm done with my first year, I should have enough scale that I can justify having these reorders. And that's a pretty hard, supplement pill to swallow, right? But that is sometimes you have to not necessarily ignore that, but realize and embrace that as a reality of the situation.
Yep. Yeah, it's because especially during the first 1 to 2 years, if you really want to push rank up, you're going to need to be priced competitively. Typically, unless your product is really differentiated, the more differentiated, the higher price you can charge because you have less competitors. But yeah, these are all just good startup questions. What type of brand do you want to be? What type of price do you want to be? Do you have a way of differentiating? So I mean, the differentiating, I think, that's a product development type thing. What type of brand do you want to be? That's kind of a branding kind of thing that you may or may not know.
Well, the way that's referenced is usually some people are like, hey, I want to be I'm okay with being, a value brand. I'm okay with
Yeah.
being a mid-tier brand. I'm okay with being a top-tier brand. And part of that is understanding the customer journey on Amazon. Actually, not even on Amazon, in general. There are many people um, that their need for supplements change throughout their lifetime. A 20-year-old, the supplements they're going to be buying are going to be anything that's related to school, maybe immune support, but more than likely something to do with if they're buying supplements, it's probably going to be protein powder, right? Like they're trying to, they go to the gym, that type of stuff. So younger demographics tend to not be as into purchasing supplements. And so when they first start needing or hearing you need to buy a supplement, a lot of times younger demographics will actually purchase the cheapest option. And if all of a sudden their symptoms alleviate, they say, hey, this is good. I don't need something bigger and better. Later on in life, or if it doesn't alleviate them, a lot of times what market behavior actually says is that they actually stop a purchase. Like they don't purchase again for a few months until they're like, okay, the pain to buy another product comes up. And then they buy another product. And they will sometimes go and buy a product that has an increased price. Okay. And so we're talking, there's a whole life cycle, an evolution here of an individual consumer buying increased pricing of options based on their own body's needs. And so you may, if you are a higher price brand, sometimes you have to wait for them to go through the cheaper Amazon options, then the mid tier, and finally find you as the highest, most expensive one. Now there are ways to go about that through branding and those other things, but on Amazon, that those price tiers are fairly evident.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, let's go into listen to reviews. We have this whole thing on reviews. I'll let you talk about this. I have to take a pee break, so I'll just let you rant, and I'll be back in 1 minute.
Oh yeah, actually, so we've
go
already
ahead.
talked about this, but yeah, I'm pretty much going to repeat exactly what this is. So we talked about this already earlier. So we're all about review strategies and even giveaways being used. We do them. We recommend them to clients. We do them ourselves, especially to incentivize the review count as it stands. But if you're trying to change the ratio of things, that is where it gets very questionable in our mind, at least in my mind. It's very important because some reviews are fake. Some reviews might even come from competitors. It happens. There's also that person that you can never please, as per kind of wrote down here. But over time, you will get enough feedback to really understand that your audience is getting the right experience, or if your formulation needs to change. Yeah, having a review system in place for getting more reviews if possible. We use Helium 10 a lot of times just because there's the get reviews or the request review button, and there's automation tools that you can get that. Now, other things that we do is also implementing product inserts if they're applicable. In the supplement space, it's becoming more and more popular to not have a box. And so we have to be creative with that, putting a sticker on the bottle or some other form of just getting kind of entering into some sort of an email lead sequence or a giveaway system. But yeah, there's nothing ethically wrong, in my opinion, with increasing the total review count using alternative strategies, so long as the customer experience stays the same from those strategies. So you're not seeking to change a factual aspect about your product and its experience. So anyways, get emails, especially if you're going to do multiple product launches over several years. This really is beneficial to you. Gain an audience, get traction there, off Amazon options and on Amazon, especially because we will use those in DSP. You can create lookalike audiences with DSP with emails. And if you have 10,000, that's a fairly dialed in audience for lookalike. Especially in the supplement space, when you do Amazon DSP as an example, you only have lifestyle and kind of interests to go after if you don't have emails. Because by creating a lookalike audience, you have something that you can retarget and kind of focus on. Otherwise, general health. Like that is an audience for DSP, general health. And it's like, okay, nobody knows what that means. So you're actually targeting people who are just interested in health in general with DSP. But if you have an email list, you can dial it in. And you can also do the same thing for other ad platforms also. We already talked about get, subscribe, and save customers. Totally on board with that. Top of search advertising. We already went over that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Video ads, brand, headline, banner ads. We already talked about top of search ads.
Yeah, that's all top of search. That gets us the data that we need for like how do we resonate with that audience on that level. That's basically top of funnel and then into the funnel into conversion. So click through rate to conversion, getting the impressions, the sessions, and so on that we need. What's really pretty hard with advertising in the supplement space is there's not a lot of long tail keywords. Most people, as an example, when they type in a supplement, they're looking for B12 or the name of the ingredient as it stands, right? And so the advertising space actually breaks some fairly normal rules that you'll hear a lot of gurus talk about. It is actually common for one of my campaign managers, when we launch a supplement brand, I have to tell them that we're going to break rules on the account because long tail keywords don't usually exist in the supplement space. We are targeting either ingredients or an experience or just a keyword in general. And there's only about 5 to 10 different variations as it relates to that keyword. And so we have to be fairly creative in how we get enough impressions, get enough sessions, get enough clicks. So yeah, it's really interesting because I have like my own build out systems that we use. And then sometimes when we do supplements, it's like, scrap that. We're actually doing something different. But yeah, anyways, it's different strategies, but a lot of it is getting in front of customers, utilizing this. It's expensive, but it does work fairly efficiently.
And then in terms of the actual video creative, that's a whole nother thing.
Oh yeah.
We could whip up a whole document on video strategy.
Yeah.
That's a whole other episode.
It sure is.
Yeah. And with sponsored brands banners at the top, those are evolving a lot. Like I see some new styles of this. Let's just see vitamin D, just for fun. Oh, I'm not even seeing brand ads.
Put in
there
you go.
So that's got the video top banner. That's really cool.
Yep. And they will accept vertical videos on that too now. I don't know if you knew that, Riley. That's a fairly new development, but most often Amazon has only accepted horizontal format. They'll now accept vertical. So essentially pillar boxing, it sounds like. I haven't tried one. Well, actually, technically with vertical format, you won't have pillar boxes. That's why they accept it. Anyways, that's its own.
Yeah, video is got to do videos right, but that's its own episode. Utilize affiliated influencer marketing. Many times influencers will wait to pick up a product until they get themselves to see what works for them, and that it helps a variety of specific group of people. Reviews do help them understand what their audience can expect. Yep. After 20% commission minimum. Okay.
Yeah, so many influencers and affiliates, they have their own branding that they do. And if your product will fit for what they want to suggest, and they can implement it, they want to have a good commission, of course, but also they're not going to offer anything that doesn't resonate. And because otherwise it can be a bad experience for them. So I know of some influencers that will not even touch anything unless it has 100 reviews and a 4.5-star rating. And they specifically hit on these things. Like they look at that before accepting or even involving themselves with the product. So that's its own thing there.
Whole another episode for that. Influencers for UGC, and then there's getting UGC
Yeah.
user generated content just for videos, just to put on your listing.
Yep. So there is goals of commission for sales. So like actual traffic coming in, and then there's actual UGC content. Because Amazon, and this is super important, because Amazon is a search engine, right? It has its own endemic search volume and everything here. You are already getting people who are partway through a funnel. So for Facebook, as an example, it's interruptive marketing. You are in the process of scrolling through, things bombard you. You have to get their attention. You have to get their attention. Amazon, not as much. They are already involved in the sales process because they're going to buy something, which means that the amount you have to invest into a video ad can actually be, video ad creation can actually be significantly less. We have seen equal response from an inexpensive $100 video that an influencer produced and one that was a $10,000 video produced by a huge company. We got about the same results, and it was like, oh, there you go. Now, obviously, you still have to splice things together. So we will usually tell clients, do at least 3 UGC videos, because there's going to be one that's solid. You can probably launch it as it is, and then the other 2 you have to either mute somebody because their voice is annoying, or you have to like splice them together. But there is a lot of good stuff from UGC content that you can do. It's great.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode as well. And ideally, what you want long term is genuine customer testimonials.
Yeah.
From real customers. And on the new review strategy video that I got, I talk about some ways happy. And
I don't know if that's your internet going in and out, or my internet, but one of ours is not. Yeah, someone's freezing. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, it might be me. So, hold on.
Mine was touchy today as well, so that's kind of why I say that.
Okay. No, it was mine. My Wi-Fi was just flickering.
Okay.
Anyways, getting just genuine customer testimonials. If you already have happy customers elsewhere, you can get in touch with them. And I actually have a new framework I got actually from Mike that I mentioned earlier, Ryan Heath. For getting customer testimonials, there's a few questions you can ask. It's something like, what was the problem you are facing? Why is this product different than other similar products that you've faced? Describe the moment and or feeling when you realized, oh, this is actually working and solving the problem. How you use the product, describe that. Describe what your life looks now that this problem is solved. It's like before I was trying this. Now it's like this, everything is great. And then also describe one surprise benefit of this product.
Got it.
Boom, thumbs up from this. And so anyways, on my new video, I have a framework for that. And that's kind of like the home run golden testimonial, if you can get those, and you can send basically these happy customers this quick survey. They'll answer this survey via Instagram DM or wherever you're engaging with them, email. Thank you so much. Hey, would you mind like recording a quick video testimonial? We'll give you a free product, or we'll give you a gift card or whatever, or coupon or whatever. Okay, they record that video, they send that to you, and then you can invite them nicely. Hey, would you mind sharing that on Amazon? Hey, not optional or not required. It's optional. So you're not incentivizing it, but they gave you a direct testimonial for your social media or whatever. You can invite them nicely to share it on Amazon. As long as you don't require it, it's technically within TOS. Mm-hmm. That's a little hack that I talked about in that video. Okay, cool. On to utilize other forms of advertising, add people to your funnel. So Amazon DSP, Facebook, Instagram, Google, TikTok.
Yeah, as some examples here. you're going to reach a plateau. Everyone does. So especially if you're like mainly an Amazon seller, you will often reach a plateau that's hard to break through. And utilizing these outside forms of advertising, we do see success from it. It's fairly common for anyone to dial in Facebook ads or for Instagram ads. TikTok's really interesting. We don't really see a ton of direct influence, but it's kind of like when these other ads are going, sometimes we don't get direct sales associated with it and the sales lift, but we actually see an overall sales lift on the account that are unrelated, or they seem unrelated. But then as soon as we stop the ads over there, then all of a sudden sales start to decrease. And it's really pretty interesting how it all works out. So sometimes you won't see direct sales lift through the attribution links, which can happen. But then overall sales will start to steadily increase because you're becoming more discoverable on Google, or just more people aren't coming back within the attribution window, but they're coming back after the attribution window and still purchasing. And so there is a lift that still occurs on these. And that's always something to be aware of, is that attribution windows, 7 to 14 days, are really what you're looking at for most of these. Some of them are even shorter as far what Amazon will actually attribute, but you will see an overall sales lift usually by doing these over time. And so that's the goal. You cap your opportunity on Amazon because of the endemic search volume, and endemic meaning just what's available within Amazon. And so especially during those caps, when you hit those caps based on what you have to do alternate forms of advertising. This happens a lot. Some people actually get fairly confused when they see a product that the main search term has 10,000 search volume, and there's a product that does 1 million in sales, and they're like, how does this work? And it's like, well, they are actually doing outside traffic, and the outside traffic is boosting their sales as well. And so the endemic search volume it has a certain cap. There's only so much that actually naturally occur within Amazon every single month, and so they are grabbing traffic outside and bringing them in, and so then they dominate the category by just having total sales velocity associated with multiple channels. So anyways, that's a tangent.
External traffic, that's a whole other strategy of consistently dripping outside traffic to keep your Amazon rank high, to keep that position. Okay, launch to growth. You want to go ahead and talk about this one?
Yeah, I mean, as it's said here, launch to growth. So launch to growth, usually 1 to 2 years, is really pretty common in the space. Sometimes we have like 3 to 5 years as an example, and about $100,000 of ad spend is usually the deepest point of an S curve. And that's more of probably in the form of advertising, although it can also include your cost of goods. So in regards to an S curve, most people are familiar with what a J curve is. J curve is up. Often in Amazon and in product businesses in general, you actually experience S curves where it's like you go down and then you come up, and as you're coming out of it, you actually sometimes start another S curve into another product, and just it's more like kind of S's. Anyways, usually the deepest into that S curve we see people go is about 100,000. Although there are some brands that do go deeper than that. So it's fairly relative, but this is just kind of one of those numbers to understand the feel of it. It can be very expensive. Some clients don't ever reach that, but it's fairly common. Find products that work best for your brand on Amazon, and then scale and grow year over year. This is also, I don't go into this here in the wording here, but it is fairly common, and we see it way more, and super often it's weird. Someone's favorite product, they're like, this is my favorite product, sometimes is the least popular. And the one that actually gets traction is the one that they say, I never thought this one would be, of the 4 that I launched, I didn't think it was going to be this one. And it's like, yeah, well, that's the one. But then you need to realize that you push the one that makes sense. And like, if you lean into the growth that is available, and then you split test and run tests on the other ones to try and get them traction. But the one you do have to push where the momentum is. Eventually, you'll be operating out of tacos that makes sense for the brand, and you can consistently succeed in. So somewhere in that S curve, at the bottom of that S curve, you start hitting a tacos that you say, hey, we can operate here on a growth level, and on a growth level, you'll eventually come past your break even point and out of that. And that's really what that looks like. But in the first few months, if there's ever a supplement company that, even a startup that says, hey, within the first 3 months, I need to be making a profit, that's a pretty hard pass. It is so incredibly rare. It's like the unicorn, right? Doesn't happen very often. We've seen it. It happens. It is
any
very,
product
very,
on Amazon.
rare. Yeah.
Your profit after month 3 would be like a half court shot that you're hitting. I mean, this is any company, any business, and anything.
Agreed.
Unless you're selling lemonade and you're getting it made for 25 cents and selling for $4.
Yeah. What's funny, I remember a recommendation that was given to me. It was in a class. I don't even know the statistic. Maybe I should look it up right now. It's like what ratio of businesses fail?
Yeah. I was reading an article on that actually in recent months, and
40%, according to Google.
There's all these different stats with that. It's like how many fail within the first year, how many within the first 5 years.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of nuance to that conversation.
There is, and what I want to reiterate to that is every product can actually be seen as its own portion of that. Yeah. And so like 1 out of 10, right? So if 40% of business fail, actually that's what my disagreement with this is, that there's a lot of pivots that happen for any entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And so for a supplement company, they might launch 5 products at once, and 1 or 2 of them are the ones that actually hit it off. So technically they had 3 products that didn't do well, and that we had to scrap and make way for new opportunities and new things. And it may actually follow some similar ratios to that, and just be aware that not every product is a home run. A lot of times the goals, how you know a product is doing pretty well, if your product is at least bringing in probably, it's hard to put averages on this, but probably about 5,000 a month. If your product is bringing, it might be a C tier product in your catalog, and you may want to keep it. It at least has to fit and cover the cost of what your reordering cost is, right? That should be your minimum, and it should be making you profit. And that should be spaced out through the reordering period. So if you have a 2-year time frame, right, for expiration, and you sell enough product within the 2-year, you don't have to throw them away, and it covers the profit and the reorder cost, then it is justified. So long as you can consistently reorder, it is justified to keep that product, unless you have a product that is killing it, and you need to, and the same, $5,000, $10,000 that you would spend in reordering product, you actually put it towards a different product, and you would grow significantly more. That's the time that's when you would consider eliminating C-level products or C tier products, right? And then you have C, B, A, or whatever tier, alpha tier, beta tier, however you want to say it. I think you get the concept. Products. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
Yep. And so C is like they're barely breaking even. You can justify keeping them, but if you ever, they're ones that you have to kind of and ha. Do I get rid of this one? Do I not? It brings in enough. Obviously, anything that's below that, just scrap it. It's not bringing enough money to justify those things. You've had it for at least a year. It's not working. Scrap it and move on. Use the inventory to launch a new product or towards something else. B tier is going to be one that's bringing in like above the 5,000 for sure. Probably like 10, 20. Multiple products can do that. And then A level is probably anything above 20. I would say, and there's some averages. There's some niches within supplements that you really won't get above 15. That happened. Like the alpha product will only be maybe 15,000. We have a client that they have multiple alphas, but they're in very small niches, and so their alpha product brings in 15-ish thousand on its own, but that's the most endemically within Amazon that you can actually get for that small search volume. And so yeah, there's different tiers.
Yeah, that's good.
And then structuring your company in a way, in like a pyramid type form that actually has that, where you have A level, B level, and C level, and they all, anyways, that's its own diagram and stuff. So
Yeah, we can make diagrams in here with AI.
oh sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. You can make pyramids. Pyramid layout, text inside. So we have, C team, we have A team.
I would probably put A team at the top. So A team would be the top. Because a lot of brands will have significantly less A tier players than they do, B and so on. Bigger brands, they usually, most of their products operate A and B levels. That's pretty common. They spend a lot of money for advertising and those other things to actually be A and B. And then yeah, anything below a B, just scrap. It's usually not worth it to you. They're technically pulling advertising, not advertising, but cost of goods associated. Like, take that money and reinvest it into new product launches. C team, so C team I wouldn't scrap. C team would be, they're your hums and haws. Do I keep this one? Do I not keep this one?
Yeah.
You get rid of those so long if one of your alphas or betas do need additional inventory, then scrap a C if you need to. If you ever have to haw about it, it's a C level. And a product can climb the ranks. So since while you're filling that out, just in general, a product can climb it. You can start off. This is the goal. For every product launch that we do, can we get it to a C level tier? Cool. Once it's in C level, can we get it to a B? After B, can we get it to an A? That is actually probably the best way to format. And what we're trying to do with a product launch to begin with. We're trying to see which products can we get to alpha and how fast can we get them, or do we cap out at C? Do we cap out at B, or do we not cap out in general? We have a flunked product, and yeah, that's actually a great way to phrase that.
Yeah, or it's, you can potentially fix something about it. Maybe you need to fix the price. That's a big thing. All right, well, it's a C at our target price, but all right, maybe we need to slash the price and just have it be a slimmer profit margin, but it's going to be a larger volume.
Yeah, we try that out for 6 months and see what traction we can get. Another thing to note on most of this, and because we haven't gone over it on this call, although we do it on multiple other videos, we talk about the 6-month algorithm. The 180-day sales velocity and sales history is a real thing. We see it so consistently, and especially in supplements, we see both of them, the 6-month and then the year-over-year data. When both of those numbers look really good, like month over month, and then 6 months previous, and then year over year, when we have those data points compiled on each other, the organic ranking growth is fairly insane. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You can climb ranking really, really well. So
yeah, makes sense. Amazon wants long-term profit in orders. That's how the algorithm works. What's making money? Okay, cool. Good for this episode.
Yeah. I don't know if there's. It's funny, we went over a lot of things that we weren't even anticipating going over. Kind of just threw them in there, but because you're still going to keep a lot of the stuff that are compliance related, because there are some new compliance things that we didn't even talk about.
Oh yeah, I actually did I do a video about this yesterday?
Sure.
Oh no, that was in the.
I know that there will be more information about the compliance next Wednesday, and so I don't know if maybe we'll
and we
just
can
wanna
touch
talk
on
about
that
it.
real quick. Actually, it's in this cheat sheet right here. It's in the same document. I was actually whipping up that yesterday.
We
So
have it in the top.
approval documents needed. We all know that we need the GMP and the COA. Okay, purchase order, photo of product. New compliance rules, April 2024. So Amazon says that they now require lab testing done through one of their recommended labs. You must start the process in your Manage Your Compliance dashboard. And it takes you to Manage Your Compliance dashboard like this. You click Request Lab Service. You can choose Eurofins, NSF, or UL. Submit request. Follow the instructions to correspond with the lab testing lab for the process. Once Amazon receives the test result and confirms that you're compliant, your product will be eligible for sale on Amazon.
Yep.
Am I getting that right?
I believe so. One of the things that it isn't clear about is what does it do for products that are currently available for sale on Amazon? Do they, do they pull the listing until the compliance is reviewed? Those are the questions I think they're going to answer in the webinar. It looks to me like they will give you a date to comply, and that's usually Amazon's pretty good about that. They'll say, hey, comply by this date, and many sellers will ignore that. They won't look at that, and then the day it gets pulled, they'll say, oh, my listing's suppressed, what happened? It's like, well, you didn't comply, and so they gave you time to figure it out, right? But generally, I believe that's what's going to happen, and it sounds like you have to initiate it, and so it'll say like, hey, you have a due date, get this done, and then you go into your Compliance Central, you click on it, and then you send it in, and they test it out to make sure that it's compliant. Other questions that are not totally clear, which I think again will be answered on the webinar, is it supposed to be? Is it related to your supplement facts, or is it a reiterate on certain aspects? I believe that it's actually associated with what you have in your supplement facts. Does your product actually have what you say it has in it, and what your C of A has said that you have in it, and that it passes those? Yeah, anyways, there's so many questions that are kind of going around about it, but yeah, those are the only additional, I guess, speculations and thoughts on that.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting.
Sense, they want to make sure everything is legit. It's a thing in the supplements industry. I saw this documentary or something. It was like some independent groups did some studies testing supplements from all over the place, and pretty common for the readings to be inaccurate or for what's actually inside. So Amazon knows this, and they're trying to preserve their $1 trillion empire and reputation and make sure everything's good. So that's what it is. It's good.
That's it.
It's good for the consumer, good for the industry, good for everyone. So pay attention to your notifications and do what needs to be done, and stay tuned. We'll probably make an update on this soon.
Sweet.
All right, good stuff. Go ahead and end it there for now. And if anyone watched this to the end, thumbs up if you liked it. That'd be appreciated. You're a real one. And questions, feel free to reach out or pop them in the comments. All righty.